Not that all the stuff with Nintendo was, as far as Nintendo goes, not that they're completely gonna say no, we don't want you to have physical copies. In fact, as you've seen with the Switch, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is the highest attach rate ever for a launch game and everything else for the console. One of the things that a lot of people are looking at, amongst all of the other launch titles that are out there, some folks started noticing, they're like, hey, wait a minute here. Why is it that this particular indie game that's seeing a physical release costs more on the Switch than it does on other consoles? And the one that they're talking about is Rime, okay? Rime is out on PC, and I think it's out on both on PSN and Xbox Live. That is available on other consoles for $29.99. Currently, right now, if you get the physical copy of it, though, it goes for $39.99. All right, which has been bringing a lot of concern for a lot of people going ahead. They've been saying, "Hey, look, some of these indie game titles cost more if you get them on the Switch than anywhere else." This right here is actually pretty interesting. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
Well, new console, new platform. Oh yeah, they want your money. Were these games already out before the Switch came out?
I believe so.
So you're telling me that these games are old, technically, and yet you have this system that launched, and you're going to sell these games for a higher price.
Yeah. Rime is set to hit Steam like in May.
But my point is, it's already out. All right. Is there any significant change in the fucking game?
No. The only significant change is actually the cartridge, it being on physical cartridge.
But wait, my point is this. There's no way that I would pay extra, specifically extra, just because of a console that this certain game is on. Especially if the game was already out.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. I'm not hearing that.
For this, actually Rime was actually a PlayStation 4 exclusive. And then developers at Tequila Works decided to pull the rights away from Sony and put it on multi-plat.
Yeah.
And then he said that we set the prices for our products based on the cost of the development and publishing for each specific platform. And they're saying what the problem is, it's pretty much the same thing that happened on the Super Nintendo when you actually bought your specialized games that require specialized chips. They're more cost than what your other games was. And that's what they're saying. It's there's more cost involved.
Yeah, but for most of those games, they weren't already out on something else.
Well, it's not fully out on something else yet. Like the Reverend was saying earlier, is that it hasn't been released on all platforms as of yet.
Yeah.
They're saying, the developer's saying that it costs more to put it on the cartridge, on the Switch, because of the cartridge.
Yeah. Here's the silly thing about that, okay? Is that the digital version of Rime, which is also going to be available on the eShop, is set for $39.99 also. So it's silly.
That's completely silly.
It's silly.
I said I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm not going to defend that shit.
Yeah, and I guess another one that suffers from has the same thing going on is that Puyo Puyo Tetris. Is set to be like I think $24.99 on PS4 when it comes out for the Nintendo Switch. It's going to be $34.99. Now, I think this is one of those things where it has to be addressed that there's going to be a cost with the physical cartridges. and it's going to be a bit higher to go ahead and manufacture the physical cartridges.
It's funny how that will apply for everything except for Nintendo themselves.
Hang on, I'm not trying to defend Nintendo for this, but let me say this. There was a Facebook, during a Facebook stream where Reggie actually went out, and I quote from him, "We don't make the pricing decision. When you see those differences in prices, call up that third-party publisher and ask them." That's exactly, I mean, I'm reading a quote that he said, and it said, "Rime is the first third-party game whose makers are charging more money on the Switch." And this is not, he said, they're saying, is this an anomaly? Meaning that is this just just one game? And then they're saying,
it's funny.
Quote unquote Nintendo tax on other indie games moving forward.
I think it's hilarious because that didn't even happen for Breath of the fucking Wild. That game is
Breath of the Wild is a first party game.
But that's my point. As far as development, it costs the exact same thing on the fucking Wii U.
Well, that's the whole point that he's making, is that Reggie is saying that Nintendo's not setting these third-party prices.
But that's my point.
That's just developers. But people are blaming
it's harder to develop on a Switch because it's cartridge. And I'm like, wait a second here. You just had this great Zelda game on the Wii U and on the fucking Switch.
Well people are blaming Nintendo. They're pointing their finger at the wrong people.
No, I think they're pointing at the right people, really. Okay, because there's a few things that are going on here. Because the thing is that they're not pointing it at Nintendo without reason and without history to back it up. Mm-hmm. Okay, because the thing about the cartridges and stuff like that is that
look at the
not only that, but from the NES all the way up. Okay, third-party publishers have had to worry about product and licensing costs that Nintendo does not have to concern themselves with. Okay, at all. There was a reason why when Earthworm Jim was released out for the Super Nintendo, it cost $69.99, and Donkey Kong Country, when it came out, it was only $59.99, and a lot of third-party publishers were pissed off because they're like, look, all of our fucking games are going to be $10 more. Mm-hmm. All right, over the first party Nintendo games, because we have to worry about paying licensing fees, and they have to purchase the cartridges and the chips and the parts from Nintendo anyways.
Well,
all right.
I mean, I agree with you at this point, but I think that I'm not saying Nintendo's in the clear at all. But what I'm saying is that I feel that Nintendo, honestly, this time for this particular game, for this particular case, has nothing to do with the cost of it being $10 more on their system.
Let me continue on my second point, okay? I will say that particular cost in licensing, it exists. It's always existed, all right? Whenever you deal with proprietary format, it always fucking exists, all right? The thing that gets me, though, is that not going by what Reggie says, okay? It is true that the individual publishers are readily available to go out of their way to set whatever the MSRP is going to be. Okay,
they want to. That's the
No, just let me finish my point. Okay, if people want to go ahead and want to see proof, all right, why the fuck is Super Bomberman R only $49.99 and 1-2 Switch is $59.99?
One is a third party and the other is a third party.
Well, yeah, but if the third party... No, let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. If the third-party rule applies the whole time, then guess what? Super Bomberman R, which should have cost $59.99 or above, it should have cost $69, but it's actually $49.99, $10 cheaper than the first-party Nintendo games that are out on physical copy right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's truth to what Reggie is saying. All right, that's what I'm saying right now. All right. I think what probably happens as far as it goes is that there's, I think this sort of issue is probably going to be very, very prevalent for indie games that initially sign on and do their initial development and release for the Switch. Okay, especially if they go ahead and they do the physical copy thing.
Because,
however, I don't expect the majority of the indie developers to go out of their way to plan to make a physical copy because of this fucking reason. They're going to stick to digital download only. So with that in mind, there's a little bit that's going on. You know, what Reggie says is true, but the speculation that a lot of people have about the cartridges costing more and that there being production and licensing fees that third-party publishers have to worry about, that Nintendo doesn't have to worry about, that also rings true in this sense too. So that's really what I want to go ahead and point out on that.
I don't think it's going to have any impact at all. I think there's indie developers are going to still want to create physical copies. Whether they pass the cost on to us is going to be something that we're going to have to see, or wait and see rather. But it is a discouraging fact. I mean, I'll admit that this could be a turning point, at least on the Switch, for the indie developers not to get physical copies or not to produce retail copies of their games. I mean, I can't do that. I can't allow myself to not think that that's not going to happen. I got to be a realist here. But I also want to stay optimistic that the third-party developers, indie developers specifically, would, you know, still want to put their games out on retail. I mean, there's people like us that want retail, that still like to have that physical copy of a game.
Yeah, but if I'm just a garage door development company that's publishing independently and everything else, and it's going to cost me 200 times more fucking capital to go ahead and put out a physical copy, then guess what? I'm just gonna publish digitally. That's just how it is. Okay.
And let me just say this: if there's going to be an overwhelmingly, you know, look, you can't have a lot of freaking digital games on the Switch because of its memory capacity right now.
But that could be fixed. I mean, all you got to do is buy an SD.
But will that happen?
I'm pretty sure that, I mean, you could go out and buy a bigger memory card. I mean, that's no big deal. In this case, that's no big deal. It's just that you got to go out of your way and buy a bigger memory card for 32 gigs.
What if it gets to the point where over half of the fucking library is digital only?
Well, I mean, that could be said with the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One. I mean, you can't just point at Nintendo for that. And that was an interesting crossover. I mean,
no, I said digital only.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So the question I got is this: are we going to see this? Let's cross-examine here. On the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, are indie games more expensive?
No, the whole thing that's even bringing up this subject is bringing up this subject at all is the fact that the indie games, they're showing up on the Nintendo Switch $10 more, regardless of whether or not it's a physical copy or digital copy,
right?
For not just one title, but at least a handful of titles.
Because what the Reverend said earlier, because they were trying to make excuses about, you know, the development and the physical costs and stuff like that. But wait a minute, to download it digitally, it's the same fucking price.
Yeah.
So
it should be. Yeah, it should be, because you're counting out, you're cutting out the retail side of the thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where I think. I think people, I want to say that with a lot of folks who are sitting there saying, hey, Nintendo, this looks way too fucking familiar, especially for folks who've known their history and seen like what has happened with third-party developers and publishers with them before. As somebody who's actually seen that firsthand, that's that's one argument that I cannot go ahead and dismiss. I have seen it happen before.
But the thing is, though, are people willing to pay the Nintendo tax?
Hell yeah.
Well, it all depends on the game. It all depends on the game.
They will still pay.
Here's the thing. Look, regardless of what comes out for what system, depending on what it is, people will go ahead and pay 60, 70, 80, $150 fucking dollars even for DLC packs and stuff like that. My point is, in anything like that, depending on the game, look, if you suck dick once, you'll suck dick again because you already acquired the taste of it, and everybody knows that you will suck a fucking dick. So the only way to stop all of that is to see through all that garbage and just put your foot down and be like, hell no, I'm not doing that, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, for a lot of the folks that have huge issues with this, I will say this right now, then just don't buy it. Literally, don't buy it.
Yeah.
If you want to see Nintendo change their mind, or not just Nintendo, but the independent publishers, go ahead and change their mind on some of the pricing on these things, then just don't buy it. Okay, prices will drop really fucking quick. All right, but that also applies to every fucking manufacturer and publisher out there. There's something that you don't like, you want to make your point really, really well, don't fucking buy it. Okay. Yeah, and I think that's really the only thing I say about that.
For example, guys, would you pay $400 for a Switch right now?
No.
Because there are certain places that are selling it for that much. Because, of course, they're difficult to find, and certain places have jacked up the prices. And guess what? People are still either buying them or consider buying them. So my point is, look, if you're that desperate to get on your knees and the suck a dick of a company, then, again, you'll keep fucking doing it because they will grow accustomed for you going down on them. So all you have to do, just like the Reverend said, don't fucking buy it. I mean, just no. Look, games are already fucking $60 already, and most of those games are not even fucking complete. You got season passes and DLC that adds up the game to be maybe $100 to $150.
If you're lucky.
Season passes every year and all that garbage.
If you're lucky, you won't break over 100 on a game, even after all the DLC and everything else. No. But yeah, this one right here is definitely one that I hate to think about it, saying, with considering that maybe it's going to sit there and halt some of the momentum that the Switch has.
This is the future.
Well, no, the future is that nobody owns anything. There's no physical fucking medium, that you're just paying subscription fees to stream shit. All right, on a constant basis.
Look, Super Mario D, Super Mario Digital.
And then whenever you want to go ahead and actually hit a power-up block, it'll ask for, your account password so that it can hit you up for a 99-cent microtransaction and some sort of bullshit like that.
Look, what you're gonna look again. The next Zelda is gonna have a microtransaction and get the Master Sword, and guess what? People would still buy it. People would still buy it. People will be like, well, okay, it's not that bad. It's just going for they'll make excuses for something like that to be done.
Yeah, this particular one is just something else. Like I said, if I would hold Reggie's words and everything else, I would hold it up like gospel. Okay, I would fully believe it if I haven't actually experienced firsthand, the fact that physical with the proprietary format and everything else, physical copies with third party. Yeah, I've seen it happen before, where it actually makes a difference in price.
Wait, again, look at the Nintendo 64. If you don't have to even go any further than the 64. I mean, yes, the Super Nintendo did it too, but damn, third-party developers weren't going to develop for the Nintendo 64 for this reason.
Yep.
So the Switch can't go that fucking route. Not in this early stage. They just can't. Because if it gets to the point where Switch games are going to be like $79.99, the controllers are already expensive. If it gets to the point where every Switch game is $10 or $20 more than they are for the Xbox One or the fucking PS4, that's not going to work. It's just, regardless, if third party is back on Nintendo, it still wouldn't fucking matter at that point. I mean, just
no, it's an obstacle that
once
I
again,
think
you'll be buying a Nintendo just for Nintendo products. Well, we just did that with the Wii U.
Yeah, I think it's an obstacle that Nintendo has to sit there and deal with, and that by and large, a lot of the Nintendo consumers and diehard are going to have to figure out whether or not it's worth it to go ahead and pursue grabbing third-party games on the Switch if it's going to go ahead and cost more. I don't want to think about that happening on a regular basis, but it's something that we have to consider, especially considering we're dealing with a proprietary format again. Really, what we would like to know is we would like to know anybody who's watching this. What are your thoughts on this? Is this deja vu all over again, or is this something where it's like maybe the developers, the indie developers, and the indie publishers, maybe they're just shooting for things that are a little bit over their head, jumping on the Switch, developing at this moment in time. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that, and also the lawsuit that Nintendo won just recently against Go Cyber Shopping in Canada? Like I said, used to be $9.5 million, went all the way up to $12.76 million as far as the settlement goes, and the type of things that are going on with that particular lawsuit, and especially considering the climate of how a lot of first-party video game publishers don't like this whole right to repair, and they're really making a case that you don't actually own your shit. It's something that we got to sit there and think about. We really like to hear about that. So while you're at it, leave us a comment below. Hit like, hit subscribe. We'd definitely enjoy seeing your comments. All our bullshit on Nintendo, the news that we've got so far, is going to end right here. I'm the Reverend.
The theme here.
Gray Mouse 1.
Once again, for the benefits of common sense, logic, and not... Don't go down this road, please. Nintendo Switch, no matter who's fucking doing it, third party, first party, no, please don't fucking do it. You just had a great fucking launch. You're gonna have follow up and have a great fucking year if you have the fucking games and you make more Switches. You go out, so please don't X this shit out as soon as fucking humanly possible. Credits.